Christlikeness. Why should we strive to be more Christ-like, and what even is Christlikeness? Just a few days ago, I started a project of mine called Holy Login, kind of a reference to the whole login idea, but in a holy sense, with a few goals of mine, and among these goals were one kind of unspecific one, which would be the statement "be more Christ-like." And the idea I had with this statement was that I, throughout the days, as I progressed with the other goals, reading the entirety of the Bible, defeating all common sins, conquering all my current burdens, and understanding the renewal of the heart. Those were the other four ones. But my idea was that throughout the next period of my life, where I tried to battle with this project of mine and tried to complete it to my best ability, that this being more Christ-like would kind of be maybe a more unassessed one, because I thought of it as kind of unspecific, which it is, of course, but it led me to thinking that I want to kind of define in my own head what do I think Christlikeness is, and why is it important to be more Christ-like. So I thought I just wrote it down. I thought that, of course, in a world of only perfect beings, we would all like roam the world in harmony, and that would, of course, be ideal. And then I thought that God's goal with us would probably be to have us all roam the world in harmony, and that harmony would, of course, only be achieved through perfect beings. But we aren't perfect, so we should strive to be. But maybe we shouldn't try to be perfect. We should just strive to be better. And from that, I got the idea of the goal initially. But that's when I kind of got the desire to kind of understand further what Christlikeness is. So of course, I heard an example. I don't totally remember who it were, but I imagine it being Hamza, because I watched this self-improvement guy a lot while I was growing up, and well, I don't actually know if it was this one, but maybe it was just a random person saying this. But trying to understand Christlikeness, I tried to start off at one place, and an example of mine that stuck with me for a lot of time and still kind of lives freely in my head nowadays is the example of imagining if Jesus were a person making dinner for you, a person cleaning your house, a person building a bed for you, something like that, or just building it for other people. Would you maybe go over and help him if you knew it were Jesus? Of course you would. But now imagine that it was just a random person, and then you come to think, or maybe more than likely, you wouldn't help that random person to the same degree you would have helped Jesus. And why is that? The first thing that might come to your mind is he's more relevant, he's more important, and you want to kind of listen to him. He's a smart person, important person, so of course you would like to listen to him. But in God's eyes, we're all relevant, and we all have some kind of relevance to us. And I don't think we notice this too much when we just experience life. But if we look from this example and act as if the other person that we go past in life if we try to act as if they are relevant and they are important, and try to adapt in a way that kind of shows or express that we think they're relevant, I think that's an act of Christlikeness, because that's a really big desire of ours. I know that relevance is also something I haven't totally determined if it's a desire of the soul or a desire of the body, because it almost seems lustful to the degree of which we desire a sense of relevance in life. But that this idea of relevancy led me to another thinking, which or another idea, or kind of more a reminder about a book I read recently, because I was reading this book called Surrounded by Idiots. I bring it with me, and the whole concept of this idea of this book is to try to grasp people for who they actually are and what their actual intentions are behind what they're actually doing. So what I do with the books is I give them a kind of summary, one-page summary, and then out of that one-page summary I try to conclude the overall juice, the overall magic, the overall idea into a one-liner, I call it. And this one-liner is what I use on a daily sense, or at least try to, and for that reason I try to make it at least somewhat easy to use without any further context, because my future self, or you guys watching this, may try to use this and you can understand it wouldn't make sense to have kind of all this contextualization added. So I always try to minimize contextualization needs. So therefore I made the one-liner be: observe what people do and adapt to why they do it. So again, see people maybe not for what they do, but for why they do things. Intent really means something here. And where am I really trying to go with this kind of thinking? I'm trying to return to this, what is Christ-likeness? And I think in my head, at least my own thinking, it's kind of your deepest personal able expression of love. So what I mean by that is, of course people express love differently, and therefore there's like different types of love, and obviously we can't be like Jesus himself entirely, because he's our savior, and we can't be an eternal savior for people. But I would like to think that we could be a savior for a day for them, and this is not trying to bring me above others, but this thinking is like is applicable to if you have a friend that needs help one day, and then you help them and get them on with their life, and they really appreciate that help. In that sense, you are kind of like the savior of the day, if you like to say that. But the levels of love I would like to mention is, of course, selflessness, compassion, service, usefulness, many also climb to, and sacrificial love. So of course, depending on who you are, you kind of view this as a level. I didn't choose to give them numbers of what is actually more deep of an expression of love, but you get the idea that different people value different things over. Like for example, a more functional person maybe think that usefulness and political impact or anything like that, maybe freeing the people for a certain ideology, is beyond all other forms of love. Like that's the pinnacle of love you can express while you are a human being. And others may be thinking more local. Their goals are not limited, but focused and prioritized on fewer people, because they think that's the way to go, and therefore they may be more bound to be a service or compassion focused. So this empathetic rather than conquering the world and winning over an ideology in favor of the betterment of the people. So what I'm trying to express is, what is Christlikeness? And Christlikeness is love, and this love is expressed as differing good acts, of course depending on who you are. And I feel like these differing good acts with God in hand is something you could say is obedience, and then obedience kind of ends out at the most true opposite, or the most true opposition to evil, I would say, because I try to formulate in an earlier thought of mine, in an article I believe I was trying to write, that goodness with God in hand was kind of the ultimate opposition to evil. But I don't know if goodness itself, maybe good acts, because goodness itself seems like it includes God, and good acts themselves I don't think completes the full image of love. I think that good acts with the intent and with the kind of with the intent and with the stream of love we get from God is the true opposition of evil. So I think as Christians we should of course here try to resemble Christ in whatever sense you may be able to, and express the deepest kind of love that you're able to with God in hand. And when I say with God in hand, I mean with Him in your life, with Him included, because then you know if the direction of which you're going is the right one. And the biggest takeaway from this is to try to apply Christ's teachings, because whether you're a very useful focused person, a compassionate, a very empathetic person, whether you're this or that, you can express some kind of love. And if you apply Christ's teachings to your life, as were He watching, you will get this sense of Christlikeness. And I would say that is Christlikeness, to apply Christ's teachings to your life as were He there, because He is there. And this leads me myself to desire to, of course, systematize Christlikeness and further expand this into an article, because I'm maybe more of a personal usefulness and an impactful seeking person. So I want to, of course, systematize this idea of Christlikeness, so I can myself try to, I need to line it out for myself to understand it. But I think I'll go from here with at least a desire to further expand this, at least in an article, if not just a system I'll post on my Twitter, for example. But as said, the biggest takeaway for you guys, which of course is you guys I'm trying to reach, it's not just myself that I want to see this when I look back in a few years. I also want you guys to get something out of it. So I'll leave you with, apply Christ's teachings to your life as were He watching, because He is. And us Christians are here to resemble Jesus the best we can, so express the deepest kind of love possible to you. And that was basically it. That was my little thinking on Christlikeness. It's kind of actually impulsive, because I wrote these kind of mini scripts, or at least the points I would like to get across today, because I was helping build, or actually not build, take down a tent where we celebrated my brother like 3 months ago. And but yeah, you could say maybe that itself was a act of Christlikeness, but I don't know. I think usefulness in a sense is maybe beyond just helping others, but I also battle with what is the highest kind of love. You can try to determine that yourself. But yeah, that was my video, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Saturday probably, but maybe you're lucky to get one in between that. So bye bye.